Well, thank you for coming to my apartment to be on the podcast. So basically, my podcast is have different individuals such as yourself on, talk about world topics, personal topics. But today's a little different. Not different, a little more personal, a little deep, so to say. So before we get into that, just tell them who you are, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go straight from there.
Yeah, of course. So one, thank you for having me on. Like this
Of
is,
course.
yeah, I'm a bit nervous, but I'm super excited. Well, my name is Natty, and um, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of things going for me except for the topics I'm about to talk about, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Sperry, Oklahoma.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've never heard this. No, have I? Have I heard of Sperry? I probably have.
Yeah, if you do you know where Skytook is? Like Skytook
Yeah.
Lake? Yeah, it's like there's between North Tulsa and Skytook, there's a small little town, and it's Sperry.
Dang.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if I can grow up in a small town.
Yeah.
That'd just be tough. Now I feel like there's a Dollar General everywhere, so I just feel like
Dude,
there'd be.
that's all they had is a Dollar General, yes. And a gas station, that was it.
Oh, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I live in Tulsa now. Yeah, I live in Tulsa now.
Right.
Yeah. So, but same. It's not a bad town, especially for a small town. It's like, it doesn't have like a lot of problematic things for like small towns
Right.
and stuff. But it was nice there growing up anyways. But yeah, I grew up there and now I'm in Tulsa.
Perfect. Yeah, these questions are always awkward. It's
Mm.
like, tell me about yourself, like a job interview. No, but what do you like to do? Because I feel like what we like to do as individuals correspond in who we are as people.
Yeah.
So if we have different things going on with us, we'll probably shy away from some activities more than others. So what do you like to do?
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, and I think I'm gonna out myself and say that I don't really do a whole lot of anything.
Right.
Actually, I am pretty introverted. I stay at home a lot of the times. I do have 2 dogs, and they keep me pretty busy. We go to the dog park like every day, and and I play video games in my downtime.
Really?
And I listen, and I kind of tend to go down a lot of rabbit holes. I call it a hobby because I just do it so often. Just like rabbit holes of different topics, a lot of psychology, and whatnot. And I just get lost in them. So maybe I guess you can consider that researching, I guess.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
the only thing different between a psychologist and us, they went to school.
Exactly. Listen,
So that's the only thing.
100%, because I'm and the things I'm gonna say, I'm no psychologist. I never went to school. The highest degree of education I've had was a GED, and so I have no, formal knowledge of these things. But I have my own version of the DSM-5, which is a statistical manual for mental illnesses
Okay.
that psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists all abide by. And I have I don't know, I have the internet at my disposal, so I just, it's not really hard to find what you're looking for, I guess.
No, I agree,
Yeah.
100%.
Mm.
Yeah, my dad told me that once, and I was like, you know what, that's starting to make sense.
Yeah.
So what caught your eye about mental illness and stuff of that nature? Because a lot of people suffer with it, and people know about it, but we just don't talk about it. It's kind of a taboo kind of topic. So what interested you into that field?
Well, so I'm diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder as well as borderline personality disorder. So I guess that's just kind of the wanting to know kind of sparked the interest, I guess, because I can't just be diagnosed with something and not know what that means, know.
Right.
And then that was the starting point, and that led on to like other things as well: schizophrenia, dementia, and even depression, anxiety, and a lot of and people with depression, they do tend to have a lot of co-occurring diagnoses as well. So they'll have like an anxiety disorder with them, or they'll or even like some behavioral diagnoses like borderline personality disorder. And there is a difference. Borderline personality disorder is a behavioral behavioral diagnosis, whereas bipolar depression is a mood disorder. I should say mood disorder.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a bit of a difference. You can have both, and a lot of the times they do co-occur with each other. So I think, yeah, like I said, that just kind of got the ball moving, and I started to go to therapy. I mean, there was other things that kind of led up to that that I'll kind of mention, but yeah. I'm sorry.
No.
I lost my train of thought trying to open my water.
It's perfectly fine. I lose my train of thought thinking about what I'm thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, that's perfectly fine. So, when were you diagnosed with these two disorders, and what was your first reaction to those?
Okay, well, first, I kind of have to bring this back to whenever I was 16 and I first got diagnosed with depression. It was just depression, and it was because I was admitted into, unwillingly, of course, at 16, into a psychiatric hospital, and then there they give you a diagnosis, but you don't, and they refer you to outpatient treatment, but it's kind of up to you and the parents whether you want to follow through with that or not. But they first initially diagnosed me with depression. I got readmitted again whenever I was 17, same thing. And then I got admitted again whenever I was 19, same thing. I did a lot of sneaking around with the therapist because I knew how it was. If I was on my best behavior and I just chalked it up to a psychiatric breakdown, then I would be out of there as quickly as possible. So I didn't really let them get to know me very much. I got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder last December. So, but I always knew that I had borderline personality disorder. I just didn't get an official diagnosis from a professional until last year. So, but I kind of already knew what was going on before then, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we see the movie like Split. I don't know if you saw that.
Mm.
And he literally has different hymns.
Mm.
I don't know if that was proper English, but we're just going to roll with that.
I understand what you mean. I think we've all seen it. It's a really
Right?
good movie.
Yeah, so was it like that for you? Because for people who don't know, such as myself, that's what I think it is, like an actual different person. Do you notice if it is like that for you, or is it just you can feel one way and feel another way, but it's still natty?
And this is why the stigma is such a problem, that people don't know about this, but I understand why you think that, and a lot of people do as well, especially since that movie Split. But borderline personality disorder and multiple personality disorder is not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. I think the more professional term what you're talking about is dissociative identity disorder, also known as multiple personality disorder. That is what happened in the main character in the movie Split.
Right.
That's him. Borderline personality disorder is it's kind of, a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists disagree with that term. It's an outdated name to call that diagnosis in itself, but it's there right now, and that's what it's called.
Yeah.
But what it is just emotional dysregulation. It's an emotional dysregulation disorder, which means basically, just to sum it up, is well, I guess the criteria to fit that, I guess I should say, would be fluctuating emotions, and that means you can feel really, really happy. And I don't mean just happiness, I mean like euphoria. For an hour, and then just feel despair in the next time. And it usually is depending on external environmental factors, like if a person triggers you or if a certain situation triggers you, then you react. It's the reaction. It's not and that's different than bipolar. Bipolar is a mood disorder. It's just your mood. It's for me personally, depression, it's a mood disorder. People can't take you out of it. People can't trigger they can't make you, it's depression is just depression.
Right.
And the mania is the high and the well, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's the mania
Mm-hmm.
part, but it's not normally caused by external factors. You know,
Right.
it's usually like it is a lot of the time just a chemical imbalance in your brain. Either you don't have like enough dopamine,
Serotonin.
serotonin. That's
There
it.
we.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
man, I knew
Mhm.
I'm smart.
Yeah, yes. It's either too much or too little, you
Right.
know, and it fluctuates. It goes up and down. So, and it just depends on like hormones and seasonal changes, but it's not you. And sometimes it is triggered by a certain situation that you're in, but a lot of times you just kind of fall into it. You know, your body just falls into it. So,
So when you have these episodes, what gets you through it? Or actually, I'm sorry, a better question. When you have these episodes, what is it like? Like the experience for you, beginning, middle, and end, and how do you deal with it?
um, well, for borderline, my borderline is, like I said, the reaction, and I think I did mention that um, whenever I'm not, you know, and triggered, I mean that in like a good way or a bad way. You know, I can get triggered and feel like so happy that I'm euphoric, I guess, and that's what it is. That's what it feels like if I'm just, you know, having a great conversation with someone, or if I'm just like really enjoying the moment. I don't feel happiness. I feel euphoric. I feel high, you know. It's similar to the feeling of whenever I'm manic, whenever referring to bipolar, but it doesn't last as long. It's very brief. And then whenever I'm angry, it's not anger, it's rage. I don't act on it, but I feel it. Like I feel my body getting hot, my vision gets red, everything. Like it's like a physical reaction. And then whenever I feel sad, it is despair. It's the lowest like feeling ever. But like I said, they don't typically last very long. The depression does a lot because of my typically my baseline mood is either depression or just flat, like
Just normal.
not necessarily that, but just like flat, just muted, almost empty, I guess. I get chronic feelings of emptiness quite often that I can't pull myself out of until it just goes away.
Yeah, I met a girl. She said, "Oh, forgot." She said she has some type of depression, and it's like our happiness is her depression, and our depression is like her super depression.
Yes,
And
yes.
I was like, that's crazy because like,
Yes.
of course I get sad and I've been depressed. I was depressed my whole teen years, but I've in my own way found a solution to help me past it. And I couldn't imagine that being my daily mood. So it's like how okay, I want to know this personally. How do you find the bright side in that? Just having that constant state of just emptiness or sadness. What keeps you happy?
I don't know if I would consider it happiness. I just I consider it just suffering less, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I was just too high to hear that sadness.
I know, I'm sorry. And I know it's probably not what people want to hear.
No, it's what they need to hear.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to be talking about things that people need to hear,
Right.
you know? And it is a tough pill to swallow, but and I am still dealing with this. Still, I'm on 3 different medications. I did take a break from therapy since the beginning of December just because of finance issues.
Right.
But I told my therapist it was a break. I'm going to start back up after the beginning of the year.
I honestly feel like if you're diagnosed with stuff that severe, that stuff should be free, like in your insurance or something.
It should be, but it's not, and not the right therapy and services are offered to people with personality disorders because there is no pill for personality disorders. You can treat the symptoms, the depression, or the rage, or the irritability, but you can't treat the disorder itself. You know, that's something you're gonna have to learn to grow out of. Some people, or at least manage, and you know. But I agree, and a lot of therapists and a lot of psychiatrists don't. They still think that borderline is taboo, or that a lot of therapists don't want to see borderline patients because they are so hard to treat, but because they don't. Also, I don't think that they specialize in the specific kind of therapy that they need, which is called dialectical behavioral therapy. It's the gold standard for borderline personality disorder. Has amazing results. It's been proven that, if you go through the program, which usually takes about 2 years, that people don't even fit that criteria anymore if they just stick with it, so you can grow out of it, and the urges will probably still be there, but you can manage it.
So why do you think that's a thing? We have this amazing solution to a horrific problem, but the doctors don't seem to use it. Like, of course, everyone's going to be difficult, and some more than others. But if this is a proven success rate, why don't you think they use it?
Well, I think there are a lot of people, not a lot of people, a lot of professionals, especially in psychiatric care units. I've been admitted 3 times. I'm all in 3 different places I've been. If you're in Tulsa, I've been to Parkside and Shadow Mountain whenever I was a teenager, and then Laureate as well. I've been all 3 of them, and I've never spoken with the actual psychiatrist longer than 10 minutes, and all they want to know is like what I'm feeling. Maybe I finessed them a little bit, maybe I wasn't as open with them, but they're very quick to prescribe a pill. Very quick to prescribe a pill. They don't have enough time to give all of the patients there the time that they need to go through that specific kind of therapy, because it is a process. It's a lot of steps,
And I can just imagine how many people are misdiagnosed and given
There's
a pill
so many
that worsen them. And
yes, worsen them. Yep, I agree.
That's crazy.
Yep, I got last year I got put on sertraline again. I haven't taken it since I was a teenager. It's an antidepressant, and I told my doctor, I'm feeling depressed, and he gave me sertraline, Zoloft, if anyone knows. And I don't blame him at all. I just told him what I was feeling, and so he listened to me and he gave me what he thought I needed. But what it caused was a manic episode in me, and I didn't know until until it was like 5 days I haven't slept.
Damn.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I was just feeling great, and then one day I was just like, this isn't right. And I contacted my doctor, and that's what he said. Like, I think you have bipolar disorder, because people with bipolar disorder know that a lot of antidepressants can trigger manic episodes because it boosts your serotonin levels so high.
Yeah. And is that what gives you that euphoric state that you don't realize? Like, were you losing track of time? Not losing track of time, but just didn't know, oh shit, the sun's down.
Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely, for sure, would lose track of time.
Wow.
Yeah, and like days would go by, and I
but still
even
conscious,
recall.
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Kind of not like a blackout thing. Still conscious, but
yeah.
just.
But it's just everything was just going so fast, I guess, and I just had to I could keep up, so that's what I did. And meanwhile, all the little things that I need to take care of, kind of were brushed aside,
Yeah. Pretty sure your dogs were so confused. They're like, she's been standing there for a while.
Yeah.
Should we bark? I don't
Right.
know what we should do.
Yeah, or like, wow, she's really cleaning a lot right now. What's going on? He never really does that.
Right? She done petted me 5,200 times.
Yeah, exactly, yes. But, yeah, that is the reality of that, I guess. And like I said, it is unfortunate that people do get misdiagnosed and they don't get the treatment that they need, and then that just further perpetuates the stigma and the taboo-ness of it all, and especially because with mental illness and trauma, even, it's very vulnerable to talk about it, and humans just don't want to be vulnerable. It's hard for people to be vulnerable.
Right.
I can't blame them. It's hard for me to be vulnerable, or at least it used to be. So I can't really blame them, I guess. But I do think that the more that we talk about it and understand it more, then we we can cut down on that stigma and then get people into the help that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the numbers of people that are diagnosed with any mental illnesses, I want you, whatever that number that is, I want you to, I wasn't going to say double, maybe even triple it, because there's so much more people that go undiagnosed, not even misdiagnosed, just undiagnosed. And what happens to them a lot of the times is, for instance, addiction, addiction, a lot of people, many people, they're addicts because they have a mental illness, like not just addictive personality, but like a mental illness that
right.
makes, so, and people want to, shame people for doing drugs and whatnot, but they don't want to hear why they're doing drugs in the first place, I feel like I'm saying a lot.
No. It's okay.
You know what? Yeah, it is.
No, and I totally agree. He said a lot of great things. I was going to ask you a question, but I was going to... Let's get back into this.
I'm sorry, I go on tangents. Just,
No, it's fine. So, why do you think the stigma has stuck so much after all this? Because I feel like now with technology and social media, it should be at your fingertips, your disposal. What do you think the mindset of just regular people think about people with mental illness? Because they still see it as a joke. They still see it as not real. So what do you think those people are thinking to themselves or about the disorder?
I honestly think they're just not capable of understanding it unless they go down that rabbit hole and really not just know, but understand, because I can talk to a person without depression about depression, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what I say, or if I can express how sad I am, they just think I'm sad, They know I'm depressed, but they just think I'm sad. And I don't blame them for thinking that, because you don't really know unless you feel it, or you don't know unless you really educate yourself. And a lot of people don't want to educate themselves, or not that they don't want to, they just don't really see the benefit of doing so. So if you don't see the benefit, or if it's not the front of your mind, then you're just not going to do it. But then they're easily, they point the finger once, they see someone that's, mentally ill. Or sometimes they just feel sad for them, I guess. But, yeah, I don't... Did that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm high, so it's okay.
Yeah, I think I have a little bit too.
No, so I want to kind of get to know you a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So you were diagnosed at 16 with depression. What was your earlier years before the diagnosis? Were you a good kid? How was your parents towards you if you did have behavioral issues? So what was that like?
I am so glad you asked, because it was so... Yeah.
Great questions here.
Yes, because it was so hard for me to, ease into it. I don't want to be, bringing up my childhood trauma and stuff without, an incentive, I guess.
I brought up my childhood trauma so much on this podcast.
Yeah, I've listened to some of it, yeah. Maybe not all of it. I feel like... Well, maybe I remember some.
Maybe.
I tend to, listen, and I'm like, oh, I see this topic. It sounds interesting. I listen to that for a little bit, and I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting. So I've listened to a lot of yours, but not all of them. I need to finish them.
Yeah, I still appreciate it.
Yeah, you just told me about the podcast 5 days ago, I think. So I have some catching up I need to do. I love podcasts.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. But, so growing up, my parents, I'm going to refer to them by name.
Okay.
My mother's name is Michelle, and my father's name is Nathan. Nathan, they were very young whenever they got together. I think Michelle was 17 and Nathan was 18. Nathan committed suicide 11 days before I was born, and so I was kind of steering away from the story, I guess. I was named after him. My full name is Nathan. And my mom named me in honor of Nathan, I guess. Mm-hmm. And she gave me her middle name, Michelle. So my name is Nathan, Michelle, whatever. Doesn't matter if people know my name or not. I don't care. yeah, after he committed suicide, I had an older brother. We were 11 months apart. She actually abandoned us and she left about a few months after I was born. And after that, there was just a lot of mess going on with my paternal grandparents and then my maternal grandparents. And they were fighting for legal custody of me and my brother. And it was a lot of back and forth. Like, I had a lawyer since I was 3 years old. Yeah. And I still remember going into the lawyer's office. We didn't stop court until I was like 8, 9, 10. I don't know, somewhere around that. Well, maybe around 8. But yeah, so there was a lot of that going on. It was a little chaotic even for like a kid. I didn't understand at the time, but I still remember like the chaos and everything and whatnot. And I was a good kid, like a young child. I think I was pretty good. I was just like a normal child. And then whenever I was 5, we had brought in my half sister. My mother had another child with another man. I am 10 months apart from her.
Okay.
So, yeah. 11 months apart from my brother. I'm 10 months apart from my half-sister.
Sometimes people are busy.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have that happen.
And unfortunately, it didn't stop there because, well, anyways, we brought her in because my mother went to jail over, I think it was like domestic abuse or something. And she also had my younger half-brother as well, who is one, less than a year younger than my younger half-sister.
Right.
And he got adopted by his paternal grandparents, and then we took my sister in with us. And so, and my mother's had like 2 other, I've never met that younger half-brother, and I met one half-brother. I haven't met another one. There's two half-brothers I've never met, and I don't think I ever will.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom isn't the very best person, obviously. But obviously she was going through a lot, but still you have to take accountability for the children that you have. You have to raise them, and she didn't raise any of them. So growing up, it was fine until I was about 12 years old whenever I met my mother for the very first time. And she came and she stuck around for about a year. And after that year, she had actually, she literally just stole my half-sister away from us. She stole her away from us. You didn't hear anything from her for months until she reached out to my dad, but she didn't talk to any of us. But I guess she took my sister because my sister's father found out that she wasn't raising my sister. So, and he was paying child support, so he was suing her for child support fraud, and she had to get her back to cover her tracks and whatnot. And she got away with it, unfortunately. So that after that happened, I just became so angry, just so bitter and angry and sad, mostly sad, but I was just an angry child. After that, I started, smoking weed. I know weed's legal now. It wasn't back then. Sneaking out with my friends, drinking with my friends, and it was all just, I didn't know at the time, but looking back, it was because I just wanted to feel anything but the rage and the sadness and the frustration that I was feeling. And my grandparents, they adopted me. They didn't know. They're a bit older. They're not stigmatized with mental health, but they didn't understand it, I guess. And they tried to do whatever they could. They did a lot of things wrong, very wrong. But we're good now. But as an angry child, I wasn't. I needed help, and I didn't get the help I needed until 16. Even then, after 16, I was only on antidepressants for a month. My mom thought I didn't need it anymore. She was very religious. She's Catholic, so it was very much like...
They always are.
Yes. She always thought I had demons in me. She would try and bless me with holy water. It was so stereotypically on brand. It was it was wild. And so, and she thought that like me going to church, well, I stopped going to church younger than that, but she just kept trying to just feed me with all this godliness, I guess. And that only fueled the resentment even more. I was bitter. Now I hated religion at that point. And also because of the fear growing up with that, like she very much instilled a lot of fear in me growing up, especially with hell, and even heaven was terrifying to me. I think it's just like the eternalness of it all is horrifying.
I saw this thing and it said it had like a little red line, and then the rest was like brown.
Yes.
It was like, this is you living. This is the shortest thing you'll ever do compared to eternity.
Yes, exactly.
And that's just crazy.
It is, and it's horrible. Oh my gosh. I remember I was a child and I had an anxiety attack. I was in tears, and I remember asking my mom, forever? Like, forever? Like,
That's the thing. Like, I had the fear of dying. And just, no reason at all, but just I always thought something was wrong. I always thought I would die.
Yeah.
I was like, looking back, it was saddening to have wasted so much time feeling that way.
yeah, of course,
But
it is.
I mean, to me, it's always about progression, and I feel like everything happens for a reason. So sometimes I ask myself, well, what if it didn't happen and you wouldn't be the man you are today?
Exactly.
So I kind of look at, I mean, especially here in your childhood, how I look at things. I mean, you seem like you're doing really well.
Well, a lot better, I guess. Yeah.
Right. So I'm happy for you. But hearing all of that, I have a little theory, and I feel like people can be born with mental illnesses and mental diseases, but I feel
It's
like
hereditary.
I feel like trauma can also trigger something. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, PTSD. You know, something happens to you, and it's a traumatic thing after that. And I feel, losing your mom, doing all of this stuff. Children do not need to be in a courtroom at 3 all the way until 8, 9.
They don't. No, they don't need to have a lawyer at that age.
Right.
But
and now you have to sit here, pick who do you want to live with. Now you have to hear.
I was terrified of my paternal grandparents because my maternal grandparents would instill a lot of fear in me about her. So, yeah, no child should have to go through that. And I don't want to. The word trauma, it's not just getting beaten. It's a lot more. It's emotional trauma as well, and psychological trauma, and there was a lot of that. Like there was abandonment. It was a big thing for me. I had the fear of abandonment, and I, and because my parents did that, and there are some things that I can chalk up to being hereditary. Like my bipolar. My father was he was depressed. We know for sure. I don't know if he was bipolar or not, but regardless, he passed on something down to me. And then the borderline kind of came later as I got older, because of that abandonment that happened, I guess. And then also, sorry, I want to go back to trauma, but
No, go ahead.
High stress situations, especially for children, is trauma. Like very high stress situations, chaos is trauma. And my mom was a disciplinarian. She did discipline me out of rage sometimes. I know the difference between discipline and rage. I don't blame her because she was hurting too. That's not the trauma I'm talking about, though. It's a little bit more, it's deeper than that, I guess. I don't know, but yes, yeah. You can be born with it, and then also you can be taught it as well, I suppose, or learn the coping mechanisms whenever you're younger, like the rage and stuff.
No, I agree. And touching on trauma, I like to hear that you say it's deeper than just being hit. And I see that in my own life as well. So my mom is an alcoholic, and there'll be times where she'll get drunk and say a lot of mean things, do a lot of mean things, and then the next day regret it.
Yes.
And that to me really scarred me in a sense, because the protection and the comfort a mother is supposed to give and then not knowing which one you're gonna get or which one's real.
100%.
I feel like that put me in the place to where I am now. So
That gave me chills. I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. Yeah, I met this girl. We had a child, and some of the things that my mom used to do, or things she used to say, or some things I notice it in her.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, nobody wants to do that or be a part of that, but it's comfortable. It was familiar.
Yes, yes.
And not feeling love or feeling handsome or whatever the case may have been, you stick with it, hoping you can
Yes.
change it.
It's called trauma bond.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
See, we're learning a lot today.
It's called a trauma bonded relationship, and it's a very real thing, and I completely understand and I empathize with you of that, you know. Yes.
I appreciate it. Again, I try to. This is why I have this.
Mhm.
I feel like holding. So, in my opinion, we all have that internal voice. You know, we think to ourselves, whatever the case may be. But I feel like once you say it out loud, it becomes realer.
Yes.
You know, we can lie to ourselves in our mind, but when we actually hear ourselves say it, then I feel like it triggers a different response.
100%. And I want to make, I do agree, because when you internalize it, then you become a slave to it. But when you externalize it, not externalize, like lash out, but whenever you talk about it, you learn to be empowered by it, you know? You accept it for what it is, because it's going to be there for a while. It's not going away. So you might as well just like let it strengthen you and learn as best you can to, you know, fight those urges, or you know, don't seek out those people that comfortableness that you're seeking, you know.
No,
I
I
understand.
agree. So you were saying fight the urges and fight all that stuff. You of course you have to make a living, so you work. You have to socialize, like going to grocery stores, or even if you want a date in life. How is that like for you? Because I mean, for normal people, it's regular butterflies in the stomach if you're, you know, in a relationship, or you can put up with people being mean to you at work. But in your case, it's to the extreme. So what gets you through the day if you have those episodes at work or in public?
So I work, and I don't really want to say where, because I'm kind of on thin ice there a little bit, because of my past weekend that I might get into. I don't know if we'll have time for that, but
We have time for anything you want to talk about.
Well then, cool. I guess we'll talk about it then. But I don't treat acquaintances or friends the same as I do the people that are closest to me, like my partners or my family and stuff, because I put my trust in my family and my partner to have my best interests, and whenever they do things, and it's not whether it's real or perceived. So there's a difference whether I perceive it or it's actually real, and both of them has happened to me many times. I feel the sense of betrayal, and that's when I lash out. Like, I don't really care what normal people kind of say to me or do to me, because I just don't really, they don't know me. And I don't trust them like I do with the people that are closest to me, I guess. It's why I can kind of go under the radar a lot of the times, you know, mask it, if you will. But and it's not me, it's not intentional, it's just, I just simply don't, they're not as close to me as the people that are close to me are.
Yeah, so they don't get the chance to hurt you in a sense, because
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's what a lot of people,
Yes.
you know, especially people who love hard or hate hard.
Yes.
You know, I feel like just you're not going to get the chance to do something to me that has been so common to me.
Exactly. Yeah. And people can only hurt you based on how much access you give them or how close you keep them. So I don't keep acquaintances close to me.
Right.
I have a very, very small circle of friends, and by that I mean like 2.
Fuck it.
Yeah, and I don't treat them that way, and and the reason why they're there still is because they know me, and I know them, and the 2 friends I've had, they've never not had my best interest in heart, I guess. I got lucky with them.
Right. You know, I mean, sometimes those people are there when we need them. And so we always, in my opinion, we should always treat them with respect, because they don't have to, especially, it gets hard, dealing with someone with, oh my goodness, mental diseases or addiction. It gets hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a special type of person. So I'm glad you even have two, because
Yeah.
some people feel like they have no one and then end up taking their own life.
Of course.
So regardless of how many there is, I'm happy
Yeah.
for you. So yeah, so at work it's normal,
Mm-hmm.
because
I get irritated like everybody else, but it's not really to the extreme. And if it is to the extreme, because there has been times where I just like fucking rage. I do now, because of therapy, I do know how to check. I check in with myself a lot, and even whenever I'm feeling okay, I still check in with myself just to know like how I'm feeling and stuff. So I'm not saying I'm perfect. I do, of course, get super super irritated at work, but it's not like to the degree of, say, like a betrayal of a very close one, you know. And I'm not saying like I've never put my hands on anyone before, okay? I've never done that before.
Good.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be this, like the next video have a black eye.
Yeah, no, that's not it. Yeah.
No. I mean, I feel like that's great. Not great, but I feel like that's a benefit in a sense, because a lot of people really do allow things at work or things at home to affect them personally, and I feel like it gives them just a bad day all the
100%.
time. So and it's nice that you are adult enough to check in with yourself, because a lot of people, I don't know, we sugarcoat a lot of things.
Yes.
Or we put the blame on other people. Like, oh, they deserve it. Or this man was mean to me. Or he said something sexist.
Right.
So I deserve to feel this way.
Yeah.
And for you to know the triggers that you have.
Oh, 100%. But still, I will definitely put an asshole in his place.
Of course.
Yeah.
You
No
should.
fear of that. And
you
I do
should.
it all the time, and it feels great. I love it. Because... And I work, and the way I do it is they actually do learn. They shut the fuck up, and they do apologize. But, and I guess I have to be a little bit more truthful. I work in the industry that I work in. It's I work face to face with customers all the time. And that changes every 30 minutes. And by that I mean, I'll get a new environment every 30 minutes. It means I'll move on to a different group of people every 30 minutes, yes. And so it's a different whole experience every time, 30 minutes, different place. And I get, praised a lot, but I also get berated a lot, berated all the time. And it did affect me whenever I was younger, because I started doing this whenever I was 19, this job that I'm in, when I was 19. And I wouldn't make me mad, it would just make me sad, like when people said things out of anger and whatnot. I did take it to heart a little bit, but I quickly, knew that it was just what they were feeling in the moment. And it wasn't me. It was just, I grew a spine pretty quickly in that regard. And then that kind of led on to the whole, I don't treat people, that kind of referring to back what I said before, But there was like a bit of a time whenever I was really sad. Like I would, would cry on my breaks and whatnot. But that, I think in that line of work, it is a rite of passage. You do have to get calloused in a way. And it's just so you can keep doing your job, And that's just part of it, I guess. But, yeah.
So learning how to be callous at 19 helped you become the woman that you are and the profession that you're in. What about when you were 16, when you first got admitted? What was that like, and how did you view yourself during and after that episode of your life?
Well, whenever I was admitted when I was 16, I was making threats that I was going to kill myself to my parents and stuff, and I call it a psychotic break. It was a break from reality. I was just in tears. I was angry. I wasn't breaking things, but I was just in tears, and I was frustrated. I was yelling and crying at the same time, and and I was threatening to kill myself. And so whenever they took me in, in the interview part, because they interview you, they talk to you one-on-one, like what's going on, like, fill out the circle, the happy face.
Which happy face?
Yeah. Like, how are you feeling today? Which
all of them.
Yes. You don't even
at the same time.
And it's horrible. Yes. Oh, I used to troll them so hard. I used to write the darndest BS. I was so pissed off to be there. Oh my god. But then I went to sleep that night. It was I had to be isolated away from everybody on my first night. I went to sleep and I woke up and I was great. I was great. And what's funny is when I was there, nobody knew why I was there, And the same thing happened whenever I went to Shadow Mountain, and then whenever I was 19, I was an adult, so I was in the adult holding adult unit, I guess. And I remember this. It was the same thing. I went in there. I was in tears. I was just losing my shit. I went to sleep and I woke up and I was great. And I was great for the whole 5 days I was in there. I was smiling. I was like cracking jokes with people. And I remember this guy. We had a group session. He said, that I hate being in here, but what gives me hope is her smile, that how she's always smiling. And I'm like, me? And I'm like, I'm just having a great freaking time. I was having a good time because it was like I was in a safe place with people that were just like me, and there was no stigma in there. There was no judgments, and I was really thriving, and it was very nice to be in there. Whenever I was an adult,
So the happiness was genuine.
It was, yeah.
Okay.
It was. And then the psychotic break the night before was also genuine as well. But yeah, I was very happy to be there, and because of that happiness, I got out very quickly. I was in there the minimum amount of days that people go, and all 3 times I've been. And whenever I was a child, I was just on my best behavior. I was trying to like trick them. I wanted them to know I was just fine, and I was fine. And my mom, when she picked me up, she'd be so pissed. She's like, she knew I finessed the shit out of them, and I did. And but it was just because I didn't want to be in there. I didn't want to be in there. I didn't feel like. The difference between like a children's unit and an adult unit is these children are fucking crazy. I'm sorry, but they get.
I'm not crazy. They're crazy.
I'm talking like they will throw, and I understand, but they're children, so they don't have the same kind of like impulse control as adults do. So they'll throw things, they'll hit people, and they'll get sedated.
Well, shit, I've seen some adults do that from time to time.
I know, you probably have, but thankfully I didn't really see much of that in the 5 days I was there. Like I said, I was only in there for 5 days.
Right.
But it was, I think I was lucky with my experience, but.
No, that's good though. It's good that you found your happy place. So when you got out, did you try, quote unquote, your best to be normal, or did you just? When did the acceptance of this is who I am? I don't know if you said that yet.
The acceptance came just last year, my guy.
Shit.
Oh yeah, I've been. Whenever I got out, all times I've gotten out, people knew I was gone. My friends and my coworkers. Whenever I was 19, they knew where I was, because my parents had to notify my job for me because I was, locked up.
Yeah. And that's fucked up that they told everybody. Cause no,
it wasn't like they had to notify my job and whatnot. And
okay, I thought you meant like coworkers and people.
No,
okay,
they wouldn't do that.
I would say that's fucked up.
Yeah, no, and then my parents would reach out to my best friends. And my one of my closest friends, she was in and out of psychiatric hospitals as well. So, my parents kind of would relay that information as well, because we're children. You kind of have to. I think so. Because you want to know that hey, my child could possibly be suicidal. Do not take it lightly or whatever. Like, look for the red flags, I guess.
Yeah. It
was a safety thing. And then in my adultness, they just notified my job. But all 3 times, and especially whenever I was an adult, I didn't feel good whenever I got out. I felt ashamed, and I felt embarrassed, and I felt guilt, and I was And I just told everyone I was fine, you know, it was just like whatever, because I couldn't, like, I was just so embarrassed, you know, and I did carry that all until, like I said, just last year, whenever I finally got the right help that I needed and talked to the right people and started doing the work that I was doing. And even then I wasn't very open. I just accepted it.
Mm-hmm.
I accepted that it was going to be there to stay, but I didn't let it empower me until actually just this past weekend. So
I'm proud of
Yeah.
you. Well, if you want to share, I would like to hear what empowered you that weekend.
Yeah, of course. Well, my life is a bit like a story, and it's unfortunate because I put in the things I'm going to talk about, I put myself in these situations. I do have to be accountable and say that I saw the red flags and I chose to do them anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I was self-destructive a lot, or even then I just believed the facade that people would show me.
And is that back then, or is it recent?
Recent, both old and recent. I wasn't with just one abusive partner, unfortunately. But I got cocky and I thought I knew the flags, and I know there's different breeds of shitty people out there you don't even know, and they all manifest differently. But
The ones I'm afraid of is the one who can talk really well. I can speak really well, so I don't know if I should say that.
yes.
But men who can, like pimps, right?
Yeah.
The way you can manipulate someone is very scary.
My relationship just ended. Ended for 4 months, but it just ended this past weekend. Like the trauma bond, anyways, was he was like that. But I'm gonna get into him later.
Yeah.
But I had some growing up, some flings, whatever. They were pieces of shit, whatever. And I met this man, and I was 20 years old and he was 30. Or maybe he was like 31. I know that the age, it's legal, whatever, but it is a red flag when older men pursue younger women. I don't care what anyone says, it is a red flag. It's depending on how young they are. If they're 20, that's a red flag. It's a red flag. Now, if they're 30 and you're 40, that's different, you know?
Right, you're grown. You're
yes.
grown as fuck.
Yes, but a 20-year-old, no, you have no business fucking around with them. I don't care how legal it is. And people are talking about more how the age gap needs to be, you know, it is problematic that just because they're legal doesn't make it right, because it's all about their intent, and I'm going to get into that. But yes, I met this man, and we were together for, thankfully, only just like 8 months or so. I got an apartment, everything in my name at 20 years old. I was doing, I was in my job at the time, so I was making good money, I guess. And I wasn't a stripper, guys. I don't do any kind of sex work. Not that I'm shaming that at all, but it's...
Yeah. I work.
Yeah.
She comes to the dispensary I work at. She's clothed, guys.
Yeah.
She's clothed.
Right, and not, and you know what, even if I wasn't, who cares?
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say, you know.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
Did you see my women empowerment video?
I did, yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, and I saw, the topless one? Yeah, I love that one.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, and I love how, like, open she got and how louder she got as the episode continued.
Right?
Yeah, that was
See,
great.
I knew it was good. People
Yeah.
hate it, but I knew
Yeah,
it was good.
I like it. I like it a
Thank
lot.
you.
It was
Thank
great.
you.
And, yeah, that was cool of you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh gosh, what was I?
Yep, there it is. We forgot. The relationship you just got out of the 8-month one.
Oh yeah, the relationship. Okay, so he was and I'm going to be throwing out these terms. He was a narcissist, but the kind of narcissist he was a hands-on narcissist.
And forgive me, I'm not the best with terms. I hear so, and I was talking with somebody, and I was saying people claim to have mental health, and they don't. Like depression, when I was growing up, everybody was fucking depressed.
Yeah.
It was a trend.
Yes, and it is nowadays too, as well. Like on TikTok, I mean, you see it all the time.
Right, like there was like depressed rappers. I'm like, you guys are making millions of fucking dollars.
Yeah,
crack a smile.
Right.
But yeah, I hear the word narcissist or other words that are too big for my vocabulary. Yeah. So if you know them well enough, if you could just explain some of the terms like a narcissist or other words that you may use to describe this person.
So a narcissist is person that I don't want to say they're not capable of feeling remorse, because they do at some point, but they won't show it. And I'm going to name the stereotypical terms of what a narcissist is: grandiose, an inflated ego.
Okay.
No remorse for you see a lot of CEOs that are like that. They don't care about the little people. They just care about them, I guess, and money. Or and that can manifest in different ways. Like, every narcissist has their own thing that they care about the most. It doesn't matter the other person's needs, wants, desires. It just matters what they're getting out of the relationship. And there's different varying degrees of narcissism, and I do encourage people to check it out, because it is an epidemic that we're in. We live in a very narcissistic society. There are people that are they're out there, and maybe they don't want to hurt you, but they do hurt you, and they will hurt you, and they are evil people, and these people won't get help. They won't. That's the problem, is their inflated ego and their desires are just too overwhelming. They just can't.
So would that be a mental illness in itself, or that is just a personality trait?
So it can be both. It can be both. There is a difference between narcissistic personality disorder and then being a narcissist. And there's also difference. And then a person, any people have narcissistic traits. Like, I have narcissistic traits, but I'm not a narcissist. And I'm sure you can, like, you can have traits. It's a disorder, and then you could just be one.
Right.
But they basically just don't care, about, except for anyone but themselves, I guess, is the root of it all. And it manifests in different ways. Like, they will get whatever and the problem is to get what they want, they will go about it in different ways, whether it's hands-on abuse, whether it's emotional abuse or psychological abuse. There's different degrees. There's different people. My relationship with one was a hands-on narcissist. He would berate me and whatnot, but mostly he did put his hands on me, and thankfully it only took 8 months to get out, because I knew that it took him a while for him to actually the day that I had to leave was he had came home to my apartment where he was staying, and he was drunk, and he wanted to be intimate with me, and I was getting ready for work. I worked overnight at the time, and he didn't like that, and he said I wasn't going anywhere. He started getting violent. I had to lock him out of the door. He broke the door. He took my phone, and he called in to work for me. He said I had a miscarriage. Yeah. They have no morals. Like, they have morals, but they will sacrifice them to no ends to get what they want, and it's sick. But he when he did that, he snapped my phone in half, and he took my keys in my bag, and he hid them, and he kept me, I'm going to say, hostage for 10 hours, just berating me and hitting me and scaring me, and he humiliated me. I have 2 keloid scars on my arm from him whenever he put out his cigarettes on me, and amongst other things, he threatened to kill me, put a knife to my throat, and threatened to kill my dog and whatnot, and it just went on for 10 hours of this, of just crying on the floor and begging to go, and it was horrifying. But he fell asleep because he was drunk, and I found my keys, and I left in the early mornings. Maybe it was 5 a.m. at that point, to go the quick trip down the street, call the cops. They arrested him. He was gone. I had to go to court, and I got a protective order, and I was encouraged to go to court and testify against him so that his charges would stick. I had the scars and the statements to prove it, and the the alcohol bottles in the house to prove it, But as a lot of victims do, they don't go through with that. I felt a lot of shame for locking him, calling the cops on him. And he had a child, and I didn't want for him to be like a felon, or have this, or even it's like a misdemeanor. I don't know, because he had different counts of Oh my gosh, I forgot. He strangled me 3 times to the point where I passed out, and I would have seizures, and I would wake up, and he'd be laughing at me. Yeah, I forgot about that bit. But yeah, he had counts of strangulation, abuse, and domestic, all the good stuff. So then I dropped the charges, and honestly, it didn't really take that long for me to get over that. And by that I mean like the trauma itself, because I kind of accepted it, but I carried a lot of guilt instead. That it got substituted with guilt and shame. I'm not saying that everyone's like that. It's just my story as a victim. I hate to call myself a victim, but in that situation, I guess I was. But anyways, I got cocky, and I thought I knew the red flags, and the what led up to what, to a hands-on narcissist, I guess. Well, that didn't prepare me for the worst kind of narcissist, the covert narcissist, which is a lot of them will not put their hands on you, but I'll get into that. But I met a man maybe like 10 months after this whole thing. Yeah, it was pretty early. I was so freaking stupid. At that point, I was 21, I guess.
Can I chime in?
Of course.
So I'm not telling you how to talk or how to. Please don't degrade yourself on here, please.
Well, I have.
So you wasn't stupid. You didn't get cocky.
Yeah.
You're human. You tried to love. You tried to open up. It happens.
Of course.
So if you can shy away from that, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. But I did think that I knew all the signs to look out for, right. So I was confident that I wouldn't make the same mistake again. And then I always thought, well, if I were in the same mistake, then I know how to get out of it. Mm-hmm. I know when to run, before it gets too bad. But I met a man he's in the same business as I am, and it was in a different, completely different company, I guess. And I met him. And well, we got close, and again with the age gap, he was 31 and I was 21, but he said all the things that my other previous partner didn't say. He, a big red flag, I guess, is you're very mature for your age. I always forget how old you are. It's such a big red flag. I know I was mature, but there's no but so we were together, and he in the beginning is always great. There's a thing called the love bombing stage, and what that means is lots of flattery, lots of attention, lots of gifts. I received a lot of gifts from him. I never asked him for any gifts. I didn't ask him to pay any bills, any checks of mine, nothing like that. He would just do it, and every time he did it, I was like, how am I ever supposed to repay you for this? Like, oh, okay, like he gave me like a $300, I can't remember the brand, like a $300 beautiful necklace, like a month into meeting, I guess, and I was young, and a big part of me, I couldn't say no. I didn't know how to slow down. I was a very slow person. I eased into things, but my problem is that I would always also go at the same pace as my partner would be going. So if they were going fast, I would just, try and catch up with them. And yeah, that lasted for a bit, and he ended up proposing to me. Another red flag 8 months after meeting. I don't care what people say. They say, yeah, you can get married after 2 months, and it works out, and people are married happily for the rest of their life. And I do acknowledge that, and I see that, but people don't realize how rare that is, how absolutely rare that is, and how rare that actually works out, even. So he proposed to me 8 months in. And I told him, the funny thing is, like, I told him before, he kind of hinted, and I was like, I'm not ready for that. Like, I'm not ready to get proposed to. I knew I was mentally ill, and he knew it as well. I knew what I had. I know to the extent, like, bipolar and borderline, but I knew at the very least I was depressed, and I was avoidant, and I was reclusive, and told him I wasn't ready, and he got upset with me, and he was very upset with me that I didn't want to. And then afterwards I would reassure him and be like, no, I do, I'm sorry, I do. And then the time came, he proposed, I said yes. I didn't want to, but I did. And I feel like I keep saying and a lot.
Fine. You're doing great.
Okay. Well, after the love bombing stage will be the devalue stage. If you know anything about narcissists, there's steps, there's stages. I encourage anyone to get well versed on narcissists. I'm an example, but I'm not like a source of information. Do your own research, I guess. But afterwards was the devaluation, and what that meant was, because of all the love bombing, I could only give so much back. I didn't know what to give him, I didn't know, like, I wasn't ready. I didn't know, like, what genuine part of me could give him this thing, and mind you, he had everything anyways, but he noticed that I couldn't really keep up with and my mental illness played a part, and I reclused, and I thought, this guy, I don't deserve him, like, I don't deserve this, couldn't give him even like a percentage of what he gives me. So I withdraw, and then the devalue came when he would say, like, oh, after all the things I do for you, and you do this to me, you can't even see me, you can't even, like, do this for me, you can't even do this after everything I do for you. And then that went on, and then 2 years ago we got a house together. I should say we ended up we now work. We both currently work, at least me for the time being. Hopefully I don't get fired. At the same place, same property, same time, same start time anyways. That's hopefully going to change in the future.
Yeah.
But when I moved into the house with him, and even in the process of moving in, there was, especially whenever, I'm sorry, I have to go back. Whenever I started working at that property with him, he knew a lot more people than I did, and he started working there before I did as well. So he actually a whole year before I did. So he kind of had a chance to get to know people before I did. And when I got there, a couple weeks afterwards, he chose to put a break on me in our relationship because I was withdrawing, I was reclusing, because it was a new job for me, and I was anxious. I didn't feel good enough doing what I was doing compared to all the other people doing it. I thought I was just like the weakest link, the worst, and I reclused, and I withdrew, and I isolated myself, and then he would, instead of encouraging me, I guess he did encourage me for a bit, but he started using it against me, I guess, and then it created a cycle of resentment where I would be resentful towards him and he would be towards me, and it was just a whole back and forth. Like, I'm not innocent at all, but he would start spreading these seeds of doubt in people. He would talk to, like, coworkers and my mom as well, and my friends, saying all the things that, like, was wrong with me or what's going on in the relationship. He would tell everybody. He has a child, he has a daughter. He would tell his, the mother of his daughter, everything about our relationship, everything that was going on. And I know that that's like the mother of his daughter, but she doesn't need to know the in and outs of our relationship. That's not her business. And that kept going on, and eventually he did put a stop to it, but it didn't really stop because he just got better at it. Instead of through text, he would verbalize it. In conversation, it was very passive. He was so good at it, so good with his words. And he is a very objectively handsome person. Oh my God, he is, I'll show you a picture later if you're interested, but he is just like such a handsome person.
And I need somebody to tell me I'm this damn handsome.
Yeah, but he
Goodness.
I know, but if you looked at him, it'd be like, oh my gosh, like he looks like Jason Momoa, but like better, you know. Maybe that's just my type. Where he's just a very handsome person,
right?
But he's also very confident. He carries himself very well. So the way that he, when he would talk to people, he had this air of confidence that you just can't help but not believe him. You know, like how could you not? And that went on, for, I've worked at that place now for 3 years, and that was the whole 3 years of working there. It was, everything evolved, at some point or another. I don't know which one came first, but he would then tell me that, this person said this about you. Yeah, she agrees that you're acting like this kind of thing. These are coworkers, you know. And then I would be paranoid at work. I wouldn't sit in the break room. I've never sat in that break room still and sat in my breaks in there. I used to sit in the corner in the back of the bench that's outside of the break room in the very back where no one goes, and that's where I would have my breaks, because I just couldn't chance in my brain fucking up in front of someone, so then that can go back to him, so that he can use that against me. And so I wouldn't give people the opportunity to see my fuck ups, you know, so I would just hide. And then whenever I hid, he started getting embarrassed that I would hide. He was like, people think you're weird that you're hiding. People think that, like, I'm only sitting out here because of you. I'm like, I don't want you to sit out here. Go to the break room. Go, you know? Like, you don't have to be here. This is just for me. And it all sounds like bullshit, like, but there's mind games that people do, and seeds of doubt and manipulation. That's the thing about these, I'm gonna say it again, covert narcissists. They're so good at controlling the narrative, shifting people's perspectives in their favor. They're amazing at it. If I had a hat, I would tip it in their general direction, you know?
You could do a little...
Yeah, like, good job, guys. I'll give you that one. And then, you know, and we got a house together, and he convinced me not to put my name on the mortgage. He said that my credit was too low. I had a credit score of 711 at the time.
That's great.
For a first-time homeowner's, like, loan, like, that's perfectly fine. But he had a credit score of, like, 780. And he thought if I was on that mortgage, then we would get lower interest rates or whatever. No, there's, like, a set interest rates for, like, homeowner, like, first-time home buyers and stuff. Like, they don't really care about, not so much about your credit, because the point. And I fell for it. I was like, yeah, you're right. He did all the things, whatnot. He said, I'll put your name on the mortgage, like, after we buy the house, or on the deed anyways. That never happened, obviously. And then he threatened to kick me out about a month into living there in our house. I put $10,000 into a down deposit in that house, yes. And I furnished the whole thing. Yeah, all the furniture was mine. When I left at some point, and I took it all. It was great. But, yeah, I put in, $10,000 into that house, and he put in, like, an equal amount as well. But, so it was equally mine, regardless if my name was on the deed or not. Like, I looked for the houses with him, and I chose, and we did the whole process besides him signing the papers with his name on it, I guess. And, yeah, he threatened to kick me out a month after moving in, and after that, it was like, another betrayal was like, how could you really consider this after all the money I've saved, after everything, how could you consider this? And then that sparked resentment in me. And I, and by resentment I mean, I'm not a violent person, but I didn't have to be to do the damage that I've done. I take accountability. When I withdrew, it was because I couldn't bear anyone seeing me like that. Like, I would go to work, and he never understood, but I would go to work 5 days a week, fine. And then on my days off, I would crash, because I'm so tired from putting on this facade to people. This whole, and being paranoid is exhausting, paranoid that you're going to say something to the wrong person or fuck up or say something stupid. And that was exhausting, and I would just, and especially in my depressive states, I would, sleep the whole entire weekend, and understandably it took a toll on all of my relationships and his as well. And he, instead of trying to understand, he just kind of made me feel even worse about it, I guess. And I really don't blame him, but I just wish that he chose to understand, I guess, instead of telling me to just suck it up, I suppose, or at least encouraged me to get the help that I needed. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole reason why I went to therapy, I guess, was because of him. Like, after that first month, it became, he threatened to kick me out, like, a couple months afterwards, and a month after that, and then like a week after that, and then it became like every other day where he just wanted me out, and it just made me even more mad and bitter and just betrayed. And then but yeah, I don't know, it's really tough. It's hard to like talk about it verbally. I think if I were to write it down, it would be better, and I have, and it sounds better. But it's just hard to verbalize, like, the extent of, like, how, like, what manipulation does to a person. He would gaslight me a lot. I know he would lie. It's gaslighting. He would say that one person said this about me, and I would believe it, even though if it wasn't true. But then after a certain period of time, last year is whenever I started asking the source. I started asking the person, did you say this about me? And they said no. Whether they were lying or not, I don't know, but they would explain, be like, no, I just said like this, and they're like, oh, well, he said you called me a bitch, and I wouldn't blow it up like that, but I use that information to then bring it back to him. And so I started getting smart, I guess, and yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna speed this up, but
no, that's fine.
When people underestimate I say underestimate a lot because everything is so deep, because I didn't know it was till it was too late that however I felt about myself, however I treated other people, it didn't matter. It didn't matter unless he told me that I was, good enough. And I started craving his validation, and he was the decider of who I was, whether I was a good person or a bad person. I let him do that to me. So I do think that I'm objectively maybe not a good person, but a decent person, or at the very least neutral. But it didn't matter whatever I did to other people. All it matters was how he viewed me, and whatever I was that week, that's who I was, And then the funny thing is, he would tear me down so much. He would berate me and call me and just pieces of shit. Like, he's told me to kill myself before. He said I could kill myself, that he wouldn't even care. I have it in text messages, and I don't have any children. I haven't always wanted children, but I've wanted children for a very long time. But now I don't, because of the things that he says. He says I don't deserve to have children, that I'm trash, that no one would dream of having a baby and me and whatnot, and all this horrible stuff that I also have in text messages as well. But yeah, it was so crazy how much I lost myself and how much I depended on his approval and his validation. But it was my reality. And yeah, he gave me an ultimatum last year because my depression was getting out of control, and I was you know acting out more. He would antagonize me to the point where I reacted worse. I didn't take it anymore. I was mad. I was angry. The last straw for him, I broke a cup. Just completely knocked it off the ledge that it was on. It broke, and he took pictures of it, and threatened to use it against me, send it to my mom, all that stuff. Understandably so, but what people don't realize is that in narcissistic relationships, that they focus on the victim's reaction, not what led up to that reaction. Like how much that narcissist poked and poked at you to then just for you to like blow up, and I take accountability for that. Like I said, I've never put my hands on anyone, but I did break that cup. And what's up?
I would like to commend you for your self-control, because with all these people or these two men have done to you, and a cup is the only thing you broke. Yeah. I'm proud of you.
Well, I broke another thing a few days ago. I'll get into that. But
you're hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm cracking up over here.
Yeah. Thanks. Glad to make you laugh.
Well, I'm glad you can laugh about it.
Yeah, it sounds silly, but I take accountability for that. And what ended up happening after a certain period of time where I started doing this reactive abuse where I wouldn't take it anymore. I would throw it right back at him. Everything that he said, I just throw it right back at him. I wasn't taking it. But then he would keep going, and then I would break down all over again. And then he would build me back up. It was funny, he would build me back up. Like, he would break me down and build me back up to his liking, And he did it many times, and then he would just, and if he didn't like something, he'd just break me down all over again. But then he'd just bring me right back up whenever I would feel remorse enough.
So for the people who... Everyone has been broken down, but what does it look like when a narcissist brings you up?
Brings you up?
Yeah.
Oh, they just tell you all the good stuff about you, all the stuff that you know in your heart is true, but they won't tell you unless they think you're deserving of it. How intelligent you are. I know I'm a very intelligent person. How objective I'm a very objective person. How beautiful I am. I think I'm kind of cute, but there's all the good stuff, It was all the things that I wanted to hear because it was all the things that like I knew, sprinkled in with some things, little bits and pieces from him as well. So yeah, it was just all the good things as far as being brought up, being brought back up by them. And yeah, and well, that went on for so long. And it went on even before we got that house. It was throughout the whole 4 years. It just was just like that. And yeah, about 4 months ago is when I guess he got sick of me. Well, in the moment he did, and I couldn't handle it anymore. Like at that point he had posted about me on his Facebook saying that he didn't name me by name, but everyone I knew, my family, my friends, that he added. I wasn't on social media. I did have one, but I chose to get rid of it because of him, because of the things that he would post about me, because I just couldn't see it anymore. I couldn't bear to see it anymore. I couldn't bear the shame and the keeping my head down at work, knowing what everyone knows about me that might not be true. Maybe it's a little bit of truth, but it was just like the shame of that. And he, I just, as I caught him on, what the breaking point was, I caught him on recording saying that he gaslighting me with my boss, saying that he said something whenever he didn't, and I text my boss and I got the clarification from him. I got him on audio recording, and then I got him on audio recording saying that I should kill myself, and that was the last straw for him. Like, he had lost control at that point because he didn't know I was recording it. And he knew I had something against him, so he wanted me out. He wanted me gone, and it was hard. But I got my shit together and packed up everything in that house, and I left. And the funny thing is, whenever I was leaving, he begged me not to go. Like, he begged me, and he begged me, and then he started blaming me for leaving. He's like, I can't believe you're leaving me. I can't believe, like, you're leaving me. And it was just, like, the conflicting emotions. Like, it was all so confusing. Every bit of that relationship was confusing. I never knew anything for certain, I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust him. I didn't trust others. I didn't know what to trust. I didn't know. Because I would go to different sources. I would hear a different story, or a different perspective, or people would say, nice things about me, but then he would, destroy me. And I think that's worse than dealing with someone that has put there's different degrees that they can go hand in hand, but in my situation with that other abuser, like, at least, my wounds can heal and scars can heal, but it takes a lot to trust yourself again and know who you are again, I guess, and believe that you are worth things. You're worth decent things in life. Better things, yeah. But I didn't. I just thought I deserved everything that was happening to me, everything that was told. Like, I thought I deserved it, every bit of it. And yeah, I don't know, packed up and left, and then we were talking a good bit, back and forth. After that, he tried to get me back to come in. I demanded that he go to therapy. I demanded that we go to couples therapy. I begged him to go to therapy with me for almost 2 years. And by that point, was in therapy. I'd been on medication for a year already, and he wouldn't go. Like, he'd make excuses, or he'd agree, and that he wouldn't go follow through with them. And yeah, a lot of things happened over the weekend, but it stopped being love after a certain period of time. It became what's called like a trauma bond relationship, where you do things for the other person to appease them, not because it's out of love. It's out of, fear or doubt or things like that. And there's different ways for things to be trauma bond. It's like a sense of familiarity, because the abuse, like you said earlier, is what is comforting to you. It's and it is, it's something that you're used to. You expect it. When you expect it, it's comfortable, to expect. So yeah, over the weekend I completely cut it off, and it felt really good.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah. So I feel like I missed out a lot of things, but also I feel like I've been talking for way too damn long.
No, it's fine. If you have time, I have time. But I want to dissect a lot of it.
Please.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
As you were talking, I was just making mental notes of where to start. So, okay, so I'm not an expert in anything. But
Not either.
I truly believe that parents have a big role in a child's development and also into the people that we meet. So my question: did you ever tell him about your childhood and your parents?
I did.
Okay, and now I get into this thing. So a lot of older men, and I feel like the reason he said you're a lot mature for your age, that there was the first trap he put on you.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that because now a woman not having a father, not knowing what validation from a man is,
Mm-hmm.
now you think, oh, I got his approval. I'm more of a woman than these other 21-year-olds or whatever the case may have been. So he trusts me more. I'm an ideal girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
That was number two. And then the gifts. Of course, you can't repay the gifts. Sex only goes a long way.
Yeah.
Now he has you in slavery
Mm-hmm.
because you can't repay what he has given you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to either work for it and be degraded for it,
Yeah.
whatever the case may have
Mm-hmm.
been. And it's those men that are really good. It's the real handsome ones that got everything.
Mm-hmm.
Who never got told no.
Yes.
And even if they did, they found a way to make themselves more appeasing to women.
Or to justify it in their brain at the very least, you know? Yeah.
Right.
Or they learn from it. Very good at learning.
Yeah, and which is sad. And the rumor and all of that, it's kind of scary in a sense, because it's like, what conversations do you have to have with yourself in order to hype yourself up to do said thing, or to come up with different lies and who you lied to and what you said to who.
Yeah.
That is scary.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't know the extent that could be taken to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't know. I forgot what the other stuff I was gonna say, but you know, I feel like it's been really good to get to know you.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is, and okay, we'll get into that a little bit later, but I wanted to get into something you said. I just remembered this. So you were saying when your partner moves fast, you catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that, but I also wanted to say, and I'm not saying you're an intelligent woman, but sometimes people with mental illnesses can't like, have you seen The Big Bang Theory?
Yeah, I've watched a few episodes.
Okay, so Sheldon, how he was just blunt, you know, he didn't understand sarcasm because he didn't know. He had to catch up.
Yeah.
So I feel like people like that, it's hard for them to see signs quicker, because you said, "Oh, I finally figured out the game," or how he was playing this, and that to manipulate someone. I'm going to use the term weaker in a sense, because you're mentally stronger than some people, like normal people or whatever. To prey on someone innocent or prey on somebody weaker, knowing that they can't help said thing, and then to exploit it. Is really crazy to me. So when you say that, oh, I catch up in the relationship, well, I feel like you caught up mentally or realistically. Yeah. Because what he was giving you was false.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you got to that point. And again, this kind of, if I wasn't high, I would be crying. Yeah. Because I have a 2-year-old. Yeah. And I couldn't see my life without him. The joy and the comfort that he has brought in me, regardless of what I did in the past. He's the reason I started this. He is the reason I'm the man that I am today. So to hear that you no longer want to have children hurts. Yeah. And I hope that you get to the point where you do again. Yeah. Because I'm not jealous of women, but I'm jealous because, like, having something grow inside you has to be some of the coolest shit in the world. Yeah. And there's some women who can't conceive. There's some women who had and lost children. So if you're fortunate enough to have that, embrace it. Yeah. You know, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be good. Yeah. You're going to be you, and you're going to be the best you that you're going to be. And that's really all that counts.
I agree.
regardless what your mom didn't show you, what your dad couldn't show you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that wasn't as funny as I
No,
thought
no,
would be.
it
I'm
was.
sorry.
No, I picked up on it. I was like, yes.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Good. It doesn't. I don't get like sad over stupid stuff like that.
Perfect.
You know.
Okay, but yeah. So I mean, regardless of the lack of love that you were shown, the motherly instinct. I've seen motherly instinct. You know, oh, like I hear the child crying, and sure enough, the child is.
Right.
I heard nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
or just stuff your guys' body do. Like you guys are built to nurture, built to have children, built to love children.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take it for granted. Of course, make sure you're ready.
Of course, yeah.
Make sure. Shit, even if you adopt, whatever the case may be, if you don't trust another man or whatever, you'll be ready. And
Yeah.
the time will be perfect, regardless of what it is.
Oh, I agree 100%. And first of all, I'm 25 years old. I don't have a lot of time, but I don't have like, I have time to have kids, and I'm not ready. Even though I don't want kids now, partly now it's just because I'm not mentally ready for that. And I know now that I'm not going to rush anything. Like, I know my boundaries now with people, and I don't want to be in a relationship for a very long time. You know, I'm fine by myself for right now.
So when you said at work, I check myself.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to check yourself if a man say, "Hey, you're pretty. Can I get to know you?" They say all the right things. I'm gonna use this word. You get cocky.
Mm-hmm.
How do you check yourself?
Well, I wouldn't check myself in that sense. I'm not. I say when I said check myself, I mean like checking in with my like emotions and what I'm feeling. That way I don't let them control me. Now, whenever it comes to being approached by men, I don't, because I've been in a relationship, I'm not like a lot of women. I don't give men the time of day a lot. And it's not because I think I'm better than them or anything. It's just because based off first impressions, they're just not, and it could be looks, it could be how they approach me, it could be like the way that it could be a lot of things. And honestly, and really at the end of it all is I'm just not interested, you know? Honestly, maybe it kind of sucks to say. I think there was a period of time where I was attracted to toxic men. And I think that a lot of women can relate to that because I was in a relationship with like a very nice man. So nice, so caring, so sweet. He was just too boring for me. Isn't that terrible to say? But he was so sweet. And I broke it off with him in a very like nice way. I wasn't mean to him, but I just like, he didn't give me like the adrenaline rush, the dopamine dump that I needed, I guess. And that's what people are looking for a lot of the times. They want that instant connection, they want that dopamine hit, and they want to hold on to it, they need it, you know? And it lets them control their whole relationship because that's going to go away. At some point, the dopamine levels are going to stop, and you're going to always try and get back to those dopamine level, and the oxytocin, I guess. Those levels, but it won't happen, especially in narcissistic relationships or even like a lot of relationships if there's infidelity involved, you know. It's just, I don't really know where I'm going with that, but yeah, as far as being approached by men, I don't.
Well, I guess let me clear that up. So you say you didn't want to be in a relationship for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
How would you, let's just say a man approached you at work or something. Will it be easier or harder for you, even though you say one thing, to actually follow through with it?
Yeah.
Did that make more sense? I'm sorry.
I think a little bit. I'm still trying to like, let's see. I'm very good about putting down boundaries to random people because I deal with it like a lot, I guess. Okay. You know, I don't really know how I do it. I just, I'm not a dick, really. I think sometimes I just say, thankfully I was in a relationship, so I was just be like, I'm in a relationship,
Shit, you can still say it.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's been times where I've just said I'm gay. And I am. Well, I'm bisexual, but sometimes men care, sometimes men don't care, whatever. But it's just,
That's gangster.
yeah, I do what I need to do, because some men are persistent. Some men, because you could say you're in a relationship and they'll be like, oh, I don't see him anywhere, that kind of thing.
Duh, I'm at work.
Yeah. Actually, the funny thing is, because I worked with my significant other, I would literally, I loved it, especially if he was in the same, area. I'd be like, actually, he's right over there.
That's hilarious.
I was like, hey, wave, what's up? Yeah. So I have fun with it. I don't want to be like a jerk and whatnot, because people, they have to shoot their shot, but it's the persistence is the problem, where
Right.
I do have to, where the asshole in me kind of comes through. No means no. You know what I mean? So.
That's lovely. So,
Yeah.
what is the biggest takeaway you've learned from yourself, your relationships, and what you've learned from mental illnesses? It's a 3-part question.
Of course. I'm kind of trying to blend it all together, but I want to give another disclaimer that I'm still, learning.
Right, of course.
I just broke the trauma bond.
Again, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Every time you say it, I'm going to say I'm happy for you.
Good. I'm glad I'm happy for me too. Really, I am. But, yeah. Oh, crap. What was it? Oh, biggest takeaway is, not that I need to give myself, a lot of breaks, and I need, humbling myself is a big thing, I'm going to say, because I thought I was too cocky. I have to take myself, all the actions I've made and all the inactions I've made, I have to be accountable for them. I can only blame someone so much because I know exactly what I've done. And a big thing is accountability. And accountability for what you've done, but also why you fell for that facade in the first place, Why did I want that? Why did I believe in that? And then figuring out, what was the reason? And then, not being ashamed is another big takeaway. I felt my big 3 emotions are, actually 2 would be, sadness and then guilt and shame.
Mm-hmm.
But guilt and shame is, is how I do things in life. I do things out of guilt and shame, and it's not because a lot of people might not put that on me, but because I do it to myself, and I'm learning to not do that anymore. And another takeaway is boundaries. I know my boundaries now, and I know when I want to take things slow, and he did try and come back into my life and stuff, but I wouldn't let him, or I wouldn't, at the very least, be intimate with him because of my boundaries. And I'm very proud of me for sticking to those boundaries. And I was shamed for it, but I'm proud now. And yeah, does that answer your question? The biggest takeaways?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So I'm glad to hear the step that you were taking to better yourself. Actually, some of the things you were saying that you were doing, my wallet's right there. Could you? So I did a depression video a couple weeks ago, and I wrote down a couple things. One sec. I still have it. Here we are. So I wrote down a couple things that I thought would help people with steps to defeating their depression. And if it opens. So this is really random, and I love how life works. So you were saying, oh my god. Anyway, I'll just read this.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll remember. But number 1, I put acknowledge the cause of your depression. So if you acknowledge the type of people you're with, the type of red flags, so to say. Yeah. Number 2, work to find things that help you cope with your sadness. I don't know if you mentioned anything on how you cope with your sadness, but that's another thing that I wrote down. 3, daily affirmation, when you were saying that you give yourself affirmation now, right? Sorry, I'm getting higher and higher by the podcast minutes. Number 4, reinsurance that everything will be okay. That's another thing that I really stand by. Number 5 would be like support group or friends, having those 2 close friends that have been there through thick and thin. And 6, motivate yourself, telling yourself, "Hey, I'm proud of you for sticking with your boundaries. Keep up the good work, do all that fun stuff." So those are my 6 things that I wrote down to help people cope with their depression or to defeat. We're not trying to cope; we're trying to defeat, and I feel like it's possible. So, anything else you would like to talk about? Because I'm willing to do. I just ran out of questions, and whatever you want to talk about, I'm here for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love that list, and it's and I think we agree on a lot of things. Maybe worded it a different way, but acknowledge also is the same as like accountability. You have to take accountability, and that's a big step for a lot of people, and then distractions are very big, like hobbies and whatnot, or like for me, I love to take my dogs to the dog park. We'll be out there for like hours, not so much in the cold anymore as of like last week, but yeah, we would be out there like every day.
That's pretty cool.
And yeah, and then especially like support, like a good solid support group, and if you don't have that, then you need to go to therapy. Like more people need to go to therapy, and maybe there might not be the most affordable ones, but there are affordable ones out there, and you just have to look for them. There are resources out there that can help, and but yeah. And then another thing that you said is like I can't remember it was the last thing on your list, and I kind of cheering yourself on or something like
motivate
that.
Yourself, I believe.
Yeah, and I think for me it's
motivate.
Giving myself credit when it's due. I don't do that a lot. Like I have a very hard time like patting myself on the back or like gassing myself up, I guess. But what I can do is just give myself credit, and I think that's a good balance, because I don't want to get too overly positive. I don't want to be, positive, I guess. I don't want to be one of those people. I just want to be, like, realistically, like, okay with things in the best way that I can. And I don't know if, like, and you can work to defeat depression and whatnot, but it takes a lot of work to defeat it. But it's easy to manage it, okay? It's very easy to manage it. You have take the medication. If that medication doesn't work for you, try another one. If you think you need it, at the advice of your doctor or your psychiatrist, listen to them above all things. But managing it and putting in the work, like it's not just telling yourself this nice stuff. It's filling out the worksheets and DBT therapy. There's a lot of like group therapy and steps and whatnot, and then it's informing yourself as well about things that trigger you and what will get under your skin, how you can cope if that were to happen. And then, just checking in with yourself. But as far as defeating depression, I don't think that, and I hope that people's goal isn't to defeat depression, but just to maybe for the time being, because whenever you say defeat, like this mantra I always have, like I'll never be good, but I will always continue to get better, and I only want to get better. Being better has always been my goal, but if I were to say I want to be good, I'm trying to be good. If I falter, it's hard to give yourself like some like empathy and say that it's okay. But
right.
But whenever you mess up and you look at it from the perspective of just getting better, then you give yourself a break whenever you make mistakes. You know what I mean? So maybe the long-term goal is to defeat it, but for a lot of people now, you can manage it. It's the most realistic thing that you can do, and in order to defeat it, you have to go with therapy. you have to talk to a professional. You have to unpack all these things. You can't do it a lot of the times. I mean, you can, I know, but depending on the degree, a lot of times you can't do it on your own, you know?
Yeah. No, actually, I love the way you worded it.
Yeah.
Maybe my wording wasn't. We'll stick with hers.
Yeah.
Okay. So, hearing you say, I don't want to be happy. I just want to be. Oh my goodness. What was the word you used?
It was a bad word. I worded
Like
it
complete
better.
or.
Mm-hmm. It was realistically okay with
There you go.
I
Realistically
yeah.
okay. So now I gotta ask you a question.
Mm.
We've been asked a lot of personal questions, but this one I have to know.
Mm.
Do you love yourself?
I don't, but I know that I'm capable of doing so in the future, and it's gonna take a long time. But the thing is like I'm ready to put in the work, you know, and I've put in the work many times before. I've been to therapy. I'm on the medication. I have the doctor. I have a support group, and I'm not gonna beat myself up for not loving myself. I do know that I deserve love and nice things. I know that, but there's just certain things I just need to understand about myself before I want to be okay with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm getting to be more I'm accepting myself more, and I know that the love will come whenever, you know, that's a goal, is to love myself. That's an
Right.
achievable goal. That
Of course,
is, you
yeah.
know. And maybe I'm not there now, but I do see it happening in the future, you know. Because yeah.
Well, no, and hearing you say that actually makes sense. You say I don't love myself now, but I'm capable of love, and that can be true. All because you don't love yourself, that doesn't mean you're not in love with yourself.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a difference. Being like loving yourself, like I love my personality, I love everything I do, blah blah blah.
Mm.
If you don't love that, that's fine. But you're in love with yourself to the extent that you're willing to get better.
Yeah.
That you're telling yourself you're worth this.
Mm.
And hearing your story from 3 all the way until a couple weeks ago, you lived with people who told you how to be natty.
Mm-hmm.
And now this journey, you get to decide.
Yeah.
I've said it a lot. All because you broke me, it's not your job to rebuild me.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you're in control
Yes.
of this rebuilding stage
Yeah.
in your life.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I'm hopeful, and I've been hopeless for a very long time, and this is the first time where I've actually felt like things can change for me.
Good.
You know?
And hopefully, I know you in 4 years, we'll look back at this,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see the woman that you become.
Yeah.
So that's dope.
Yeah, and you know, me now is a different person than last year, me and the year before
Right,
me.
of course.
You know?
Progression is always
Yeah.
key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Wonderful.
It's crazy. Sure.
Well, anything else?
Maybe just like another like last bit of information that not information but just insight, advice maybe, is just to
I was gonna. If you didn't have no more to talk, I was gonna say advice. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
advice would you give people?
Okay.
Yeah, so we're on the same train, just different seats.
Of course. Well, I don't know. Like, when people say that depressed people don't want to feel depressed, and I don't want to say that you choose to be depressed, but you do choose to not take advantage of the resources out there, and there are free and low cost places that you can go, or at least that will work with your budget, that will help you. There are places out there, and it's tough, it's hard work, it's tough, it's frustrating to call the phone and getting, you know, like not the answer that you wanted, or maybe it's a long wait list, but there's, you know, patience, giving yourself time, and being easy on yourself, but also you need help. You know, people need help, and you need to get that help, and it is out there, you know. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember. But I'm good with what I said.
That's all right. I'll just have you back on.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, and actually, now that you were given advice, I think there's a 2-part.
Mm-hmm.
You gave advice for mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Could you please give advice to toxic relationships for women who are in abusive relationships or a narcissistic relationship?
First, I want you to educate yourself. I'm gonna send you a few. These are resources that are on YouTube. I know your podcast is on YouTube, but there's channels that, if you don't mind, like maybe like referencing. There are people that it's easy. They're listening to videos is like easy instead of like reading something.
I can actually, if you send the link, I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah,
because
these people are just like amazing, and they will educate you. And the thing is you have to go down that rabbit hole, the toxic abuse. You don't know when you're in it. You don't know, especially if they don't put your hands on you. But when it comes to emotional and psychological abuse, you don't know. But you have to take the red pill, and you have to go down the rabbit hole and educate yourself. And that's what I did. That's the only reason why I left, is because like you don't understand, like I went down a rabbit hole of narcissists. Like it consumed me, and it still does, because I want to know all their tricks. I want to know everything, every red flag I should look out for.
They should make a movie starring you learning about narcissists and then beating them up at the end.
Yeah, I know.
Just getting them all together, just beating them up. Yeah. Kind of like a Kill Bill type of deal.
100%, yeah. And this funny is like, in a lot of situations, you can't beat the narcissist. Like, you have to save your peace. But in my situation, I beat the narcissist.
Well, you survived.
No, so I didn't just survive. I smeared his name everywhere. It's what I did this weekend. I've been off on social media for a whole year. I deleted it, and before that, I wasn't even active on social media. It's my first time actually posting in like over 5 years. I can't remember the last time I made like a Facebook post, but I uploaded the screenshots of the text messages, and I showed everyone for who he was. And the funny thing is, like, and the weird thing that set me off, I'm sorry to bring this back into my story, but he intentionally went out of his way to tell me that he's fucking around with a very close friend of mine. A very close friend of mine that I confided in about him, that knew everything. And this person told me to get away from him, but I was making excuses for him out the ass. I'm like, no, you don't understand. It was me. And she was like, no, it's not you, it's him. And that kind of betrayal that they were like intermingling, it was too much for me. It was too fucking much. Like the betrayal, like him intentionally seeking her out, and then her, despite everything she knew, doing that. And then meanwhile, he was fucking around with a 20-year-old girl as well at the same time. And as funny as I called all their names out, and I made my apologies to them for calling their names out, but they didn't know about each other. And now, and the funny thing is, like, I destroyed his character. I did, and I don't feel remorse, because I've kept this to myself for a long time, and I've defended him for 4 years, and I felt remorse for 4 years for even thinking that he was a bad person. So no, I don't feel bad for destroying his character, because he spent 4 years destroying mine.
You should. Now, what's his name? Fuck, you don't have to. Okay, fuck you, guy.
Yeah, fuck you.
How about that?
Yeah, I can't like give out names like that just because we work together, and if this ever goes back.
I forgot that. Still, fuck you, guy.
Yeah, fuck you. Exactly, fuck you. And the funny thing is, like, he has no one now. Like, as far as like those 2 other girls that he was fucking around with, he doesn't have me, he doesn't have them. He's alone now, and he deserves to be alone until he finds his next prey, whatever. But right now, I saved those people. It sounds really shitty to say, but I saved them because the 20-year-old girl was in love with him already. Another girl, the friend, she was engaged. It's a fucked up thing. And the shitty thing is that she managed to convince her partner to be in a polyamorous relationship to allow him in, and that was the
Damn.
It was sick. It was sickening, and that poor girl, the other fiance of the engaged person, she didn't want to lose her, so she agreed to it. And but if it wasn't for me, it didn't have to go that far. If it wasn't for me, she would have been destroyed. and they would have been thriving, you know, and that relationship would have been destroyed, and that 20-year-old girl would have been destroyed as well because she's like in love with him now.
Then the cycle continues.
And the cycle continues, yep. So I can't save everybody, and I'm not going to try and, you know, be in his way with his new prey, but those two people, the 20-year-old girl, I work with her, and she's a friend of mine as well. So it's kind of fucked up. It's really fucked up, really really messy, really drama-y. I've never thought I could be in a situation like this. I've never been in one before like that. But, yeah, that's the extent, the kind of chaos that those kind of people start. And I can't save everybody, but if I can save those two people and those three people, that girl and then that engaged couple, then I did a good job, you know? Like, I see the narcissist, but not everyone should do that because some of them aren't worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to just save your peace and move on, but me, I was just too bitter. The betrayal was just too much, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah.
Again, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
I'm happy for me too, actually, yeah.
Good. See, there's the happiness.
Yeah.
I want you to feel that consistently.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think there are significantly more good days than bad days, and hopefully there will be just no more bad days, or at least there'll be very few and far between,
right.
You know? And
so we're not just consistently okay, we're consistently better.
Yeah, consistently better, always getting better.
Of course.
Always, every day. Yep.
Well, if that's it from you, that's it for me.
That's it for me, yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for... thank you for being on here. This was amazing.
No, thank you for having me. This was amazing for me.
Good.
You know, like
I'm glad you were able to talk about this. If you don't want to pay that therapist, you can do this.
Yeah, I know, this is great. This is like
you can just be like, hey, I need some help. Pull up.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, thank you. But I mean, I couldn't say it any better, guys. From us to you guys, may your pain be champagne.
Yeah. Hey.
Perfect.